You really think I was about to sit here and defend Kanye? Nah, man, you just got clickbaited. Although I do want to talk about some things that I have noticed from Kanye, um, just over time in the years. I mean, dude is completely unhinged. Obviously, he's got some issues that he needs to work out. However, I do think that in some capacity he does remain a bit outspoken on some of the stuff that he says. A lot of the things that he says are like completely outlandish and things that you obviously wouldn't, you know, talk about were you in the right state of mind. But some of the things that he has said in the past, I do think have some merit to them. Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm not defending Kanye. Dude has issues, and clearly a lot of the shit that he says doesn't need to be, actually carried out with or paid very much mind to. But some of the stuff that he says that he gets flack on, I do think has some merit. Like one of the things that I recall him saying that there was like a big hullabaloo about was how he mentioned slaves chose to be slaves. Now that's one of those things that you hear, and first knee jerk reaction, the automatic thing that comes to your mind is, what the fuck are you talking about? Slaves didn't choose to be slaves; they were slaves. Duh. Okay, sure, but I think a lot of are some of these statements that Kanye makes, people don't like look into it any like it's just a surface level thing. They don't really consider any more to that. So when I heard that, obviously, I mean, I had the same sort of reaction as everybody else because you say slaves chose to be slaves, they just sound stupid. But if you consider it for a moment, I think what he might have been trying to insinuate was they chose to be slaves because they didn't act against their captors, like they didn't try to free themselves. So they had the choice to rise up and try to have some sort of coordination and overthrow the people that were enslaving them, or continue to be slaves. And they chose to continue to be slaves. Now again, not defending Kanye, I'm just more so of a person that's like a devil's advocate, and I try to see both sides of the situation. And I think that might be what it is that he meant when he went on about it. I can't go about to interpret whatever's going on in that dude's head, but I think that sometimes before people have this knee-jerk reaction to things and say that whatever this person's talking about is crazy or whatever, that they should probably maybe just take a moment to consider just a little bit more about what it is that they're saying. Kanye, again, crazy. Yeah, after college dropout and his mom died, I don't know what occurred, but but there's some other things too. I was looking at something else earlier. There was like this British TV show or this British talk show. This dude named Jeremy Kyle, and I don't know how to add the video because I'm stupid and haven't learned how to use video editing software yet, but I'll put a link in the description. But he was interviewing this dude, and the segment was about like domestic violence or whatever. And the guy was going on about how his girlfriend was like super abusive, like keeping him locked up in the apartment and just physically abusing him and whatnot. And he was trying to escape, and he said he had to end up like jumping out his window through his like third story apartment, and he had to, I don't think he had a fire escape or something. I would have to recheck the video for that, but he ended up jumping out the fire escape, hurt himself, had to go to the hospital. There was this whole shebang, and the audience was laughing at him while he was telling this story. And because I was listening to it, I was like, that's like fucked up. And the host noticed this too, and he pointed it out. He was just like, hey, I don't understand what y'all laughing for, because if this was a female sitting here right now telling you guys the same story, y'all wouldn't be laughing. But because it's a dude, it's a joke all of a sudden. Like, that shit don't sit right. In relation to that, it's just me going on about like kind of being more open-minded about whatever it is that you may have some pre-existing thought process on. Like, be a little bit more open-minded before you start making those judgments and throwing around accusations and saying, oh, she said, he said, blah blah blah. In the case of domestic abuse, another hot topic people have is for, a man should never hit a woman. A lot of people were raised with that mindset in tow, and it makes you less of a man to hit a woman. It doesn't matter what she does, you should hold her down or whatever. Hey man, I can't get behind that. Like, if a female's coming at me and attacking me, she throw hands like a man, she getting hit like a man. Like, there's people who I can understand the mindset, but I don't agree with never hitting a woman, especially if you're being attacked at that point. It's just self-defense. But the one thing I did want to touch on, though, there was another story that I saw. This one happened a while ago. It was from an I guess now ex-NFL player. What was the dude's name? Zach Stacy. Some of you might have seen that story on Zach Stacy. And there was this video that came out of him, like, beating his girlfriend in front of his kid or whatever, and like that blew up earlier. Well, it's 2023 now, but that was like earlier in 2022. Now, again, when I say these things, I'm not necessarily defending his actions. What I am attempting to do is to perhaps look a bit further into the situation before I start, tossing out accusations and saying that he's in the wrong, and that this, I have no idea what the situation is. I'd actually never even looked forward into it deeper than that. But when I first came across this, I remember I was having this conversation with some people over in college, and they got super pissed at me about it because I wasn't on their same side. But I remember when the situation first came out, my reaction to it was, well, why was he hitting her? Not to immediately blame him, just didn't see him as the bad guy, because the way that video clip started was like after whatever altercation had happened already took place. Like, I don't know what the argument was about. I don't know if she attacked him first. I don't know if he was defending himself in any capacity. I don't know if she was being crazy or if he was the one to start the altercation. I didn't have any of that information. My thought process was, why were they at that situation that they got to? But what a lot of people don't want to consider is the other side. I mean, when you're raised a certain way and you've been brought up to believe this certain thing, and everybody else around you reinforces that ideal, and it's what you've grown up your whole life to believe, it's kind of hard to set aside your pre-existing thoughts on whatever they might be and be a bit more open-minded about what that situation or why that situation is occurring. So that's just me rambling on about nothing in particular. I just thought I'd talk about it because it was something in my head. What do you guys think? Let me know.